Here to talk to you today about the Proctor XL Powerbroker fin. Now, I've been doing this fin for the last few years, and it's a fin to match the board. The board design and the fins really should go together. So the designer of the board should be the designer of the fin, and that's what I've set out to do years ago. And we've branched out now to doing them here domestically as well in fiberglass and a medium-large template to kind of vary the line a little bit. But the whole impetus behind the thought process for the Powerbroker was where I saw a need that was a gap in fins industry-wide, where surfers were missing out. And you know, combining that classic approach of power, that raw Pete Mendia power hack, huge buckets power, with the fin release of like a Nick Rosa, where, you know, controlled fin release, and combining those two, power and dynamic high performance surfing in one. And so to get that, you know, for a long time there was two camps. You'd have, oh, your power surfer guys, and then your, you know, tour guys, or the high performance, like the air guys and the power guys. And so really surfing should be both of those combined. And so I try to incorporate that into my boards where they hold a rail so you can drive through, split the wave open, and do that power surfing approach. But also when you get in the lip, have controlled release and do finners, airs, and just have a very like well-rounded approach. And so the fins, a lot of times what I noticed is you get a big fin, like just an all-around big fin for power surfing, and that can work. But what I've wanted to do is by combining the both is having the right tires for the Ferrari, basically, is how I like to put it. You don't want to put a little spare tire on your Ferrari, or say you got a car with a wide wheelbase and a strong engine. You're not going to put little donut tires on it. You're going to put grippy race car tires on it. So this is the grippy race car tire for high performance surfing that combines both performance surfing and new school, you know, almost like acrobatic type surfing. And how I accomplish that is by going with a bigger base than any tri-fin on the market. And it's bigger than like the Jordy even, the Poncho, you know, you name it. It's got the biggest base. But it doesn't follow, it's not just like taking a regular standard template and blowing it up big, and then overall the geometry is equal. And from the tip, the base, everything's big. Because what I like to do is have a lot of drive, have those big race car, grippy race car tires coming off the bottom, and, you know, getting you an extra couple yards out of your bottom turn, so you don't have to let off the gas and kind of like around the corner, but set it and then drive it, you know, from behind the whitewater, drive it in one continuous arc. And then when you get up into the lip, rather than having a big tip in the fin, where it could get then draggy, you know, where it's like, okay, I got all this drive, how am I going to dump it? And rather than go whip in the pocket, they'll tend to go and kind of draggy through the turn. So you can fix that by having a big base with a narrower tip, almost like a medium to large tip in the fin with an extra large base. And so that's what I've done here. So if you look, it's a unique shape to it. And then the other thing that's really important is the foil. If you have a bulky foil, that's great for the base. Almost always it's good to have enough foil. You don't want your base real flim-flam and too foiled out. You know, it's not a good flex fin is not a flex fin from base to tip. A good flexy, springy fin is going to be distributing the foil and thinning the foil out through the tip. So the base remains kind of rigid. You know, some fins they'll put carbon here. I like to stay away from that and just put the foil that's going to work to keep the fin base stiff into the fin itself, and so you don't over stiffen the fin. And then in the tip, I'll actually, you know, it's really foiled out, and You know, doesn't have a big flat spot back here. That's where the fins hum too. If you have a board where the fins are humming, it's usually the angle's a little off, or it could be something as simple as the back of the fin edge has a little flat spot in it. You know, you want that you want that like a 32nd of an inch or less. You don't want it so sharp it's a razor blade that while you're sitting on your board, you cut your Achilles open, but you want that tight back there and foiled out. And so a fin with a good back foil won't hum. It slices through the water efficient. But you do want to foil out the top of the fin, so the top half is not only smaller, big base, smaller tip, but foiled out nice and thin through the tip. And that's what gives you your whip. And it gives you a real clean follow through the second half of the turn, and also a controlled release up in the lip. So that's the basics on it. I'm not going to get like super technical and just throw a bunch of numbers at you, because we have enough of that already goes on. And really, when it's all said and done, just throwing a bunch of numbers is kind of it's kind of arbitrary. It's neither here nor there. You got to understand the overall concept of the fin. So hopefully that explains the overall concept of how this fin matches my boards, my approach, my thought to, you know, what I like to see in surfing, which is variety. You know, combining the two camps, both worlds of the power and the dynamic air game and finners and all that into one. And then recently in this last year, same template, slightly refined, that I've done in solid fiberglass, and this is made domestically. This is made right up here near where our factory is, and I just feel it's a really important thing to build things domestically in locales. This is made in the USA, I'm proud of that, but I think it's really important as an industry and as designers and as surfers, the surf culture, our family, our tribe, that we build and innovate in our communities and keep it in our communities where we're dialing in surfing with the people that get boards from us, where we have real relationship, where we're surfing a certain type of wave, we're pushing the envelope, looking for different things in surfing and communicating with one another as not only a local community tribe, but also as an international tribe. So whether it's, you know, in Hossegor in France, in that community where they're building things and, you know, surfing together with the designers and the innovators in that area, and the surfers in that area of all skill levels too, or if it's San Clemente in California, or if it's Ventura, or if it's, you know, in Tahiti at the end of the road, or the North Shore in Hawaii. You know, you have all these lovely places with incredible people, and so it's good to keep things made domestically, wherever that zone is, because it's good for the industry. We are a cottage industry. We're never going to be mainstream, and that's what makes surfing so beautiful, is that we're not mainstream. There's only so much coastline. There's only so many communities with certain waves. And even with wave pools branching out and spreading out around, we're still, that saying, only a surfer knows the feeling. So we're still and always going to be a niche community, and we need to work with one another in our communities. So this is me bringing things back in the fin world to a local community production model, which is very healthy, not only for the industry, for the surfers, but also economically, to make something that's my wife and I call sustainable excellence, where you're building something excellent, but in a sustainable fashion, not a corporate model that, you know, mass produces a bunch of kind of subpar things and then tries to figure out a way to sell it and meet their quota every day with a board in a room somewhere that is demanding that they sell more and more widgets. Instead, you hang with the surfers, you surf with the surfers. We are surfers, we're in our communities, we're innovating and designing, and we're innovating and designing and producing to the actual need that exists in our communities and in our surfing world. And that's a healthy model. That's how you know, we talk a lot about care for the reefs and having a delicate ecosystem in the environment and how you have to tend to that ecosystem. Our surf culture and also our our surf industry where we're all making boards, it's a delicate ecosystem too. And we need to look at it the same way as we look at the reefs or the areas where we go and we surf, and we want to take care of them and preserve them. So that's one way to preserve the delicate ecosystem of continuing to have innovation in our various surf communities worldwide. So this is what we're doing here. And this is a little bit different from what I've done with the regular Powerbroker. The tip is a little bit more refined even on the fiberglass, and it's a little more thinned out, because the amazing thing about fiberglass, and I learned to surf back in the 80s. Everything was glass-ons, you know, even up into the Andy era. You know, a lot of Andy's boards were glass-ons, and I remember when fin systems first came out, and there was a lot of people going, oh, they don't work as good because the base isn't attached in the board. And so there's something to that with having a fiberglass fin where the base and the fin are all attached, and when they're in the board, it does feel more like a glassed-on fin because everything's connected. And so back in that era, when I was a young guy, younger dude, most of my boards had glass-ons, and I just remember the positive feeling of fiberglass. And as fin systems came out, you'd see fiberglass fin options pop up here and there, but it'd always be more kind of like, oh, fiberglass is such a stiff feeling, it only works like North Shore or really good waves because they're stiffer, but you want stiffer fins in conditions that are more, you know, pushier waves. And so for a long time, I kind of was like, yeah, that is that zone for that type of a fin to use. And also what's really important, these that I'm making locally now, is the fin and the base are all one piece, all one panel. You don't have fin separate and then bonded to the base, because, you know, you have fins long enough, you can even be your favorite fins, and over time, you'll start see the cracking in between the base and the fin. This eliminates that, which is really cool. So all one piece as it's CNC'd out. But this design, what I've done, and through testing, is I've found that fiberglass does not have to have that stigma on it of like only like big pushy waves like Pipe and Chopo or Hawaii, where you have all the power because they're stiff, because fiberglass is stiff. It's a general statement. But the fiberglass having the fastest recoil of anything, and if you think about it, solid fiber compared to, this is foam, you know, the hex cores, where you have that pattern in the middle, that's foam in the middle, and it's RTM, resin transfer method. And so you have resin, fiberglass, but then the inside's foam. Well, foam and fiberglass has a unique recoil that's super rad. These, don't get me wrong, these fins are insane. But the fastest recoil that's not going to break down, is going to last longer, is fiberglass. And the way that I've found to get away from having the fiberglass feel like, oh, it's this one-dimensional thing, they're kind of stiff, is you foil them out. You foil the tips out even more, so they're thin enough to where, look at the fiberglass, super springy, flexy, but it's an immediate recoil. So it's super responsive and really dynamic. And then even the base is foiled out a little bit more, because fiberglass on its own is going to be stiffer. So the whole fin foiled out a little bit more, but especially the tip. And then you get the positives of a fiberglass fin, but brought to like a super versatile method. And so that's the breakdown on the fins that I'm doing. And then we also have got the, not just in the XL, but the medium large. So say you're like, well, I'm like 145. I don't need a Pete Mendia style fin where I'm not like 190, 200 pounds. I'm 145, but I want to surf powerfully. Then I do the medium large, which is, it's great for guys like 140 to like 175. This fin is incredible because it covers a lot of territory where sometimes also, if you're that person that's like, man, I'm not quite, Groms, a lot of times this happens to as they're growing up, you know, I'm not quite a medium anymore, but I'm not quite a large, and the mediums are a little not quite as drivey as I want, but the larges feel too stiff. I can't do the finners the same. This is like a combination of the two. It's like having a large base with a medium tip, where the XL is like an XL, largest base of any fin, and a large medium tip on it. So it's a unique fin. It complements the shapes of my boards the best. You know, getting behind building things domestically, and with the tariffs and all that, we don't know how long that's going to last, or if that's it. America's reached it could be, in a lot of Western countries, we've reached that tipping point where we've outsourced so much, and we've been consumer countries for so long that you can't sustain that forever. Sooner or later, you have to start making things yourself again. And that's not something to be scared of. That's something to embrace and be stoked about, because then you're innovating, you know, rather than just producing the same thing forever with slight little, you know. That's how you have breakthrough, is when you get your hands dirty and you innovate. And so that's what we do here. We get our hands dirty, and we love to innovate and get in the water with our community and discover new things. So